Forget the postcard. This is Myanmar Unfiltered. Buddha's hair under a hill of gold, the world's largest marble book, a bell that sings, coffee reclaimed from opium hills, and everyday rituals that actually mean something. Stay to the end for 20 razor-sharp myth-busting insights that connect belief, power, and survival. Premium knowledge for minds that like their travel smart. 2. Eating on the heels. Tableless tradition. Everyday meals in Myanmar often happen close to the ground. Families remove their shoes, gather on woven mats, and eat while squatting on their heels, or sitting cross-legged, a posture that keeps feet from pointing at elders or sacred images. Instead of a high dining table, households use a low lacquered tray called a daung glan, set in the center and ringed by small shared dishes, rice, curries, pickles, and soups, built for communal grazing. Etiquette stresses quiet generosity. Elders are served first, guests are pressed to take seconds, and leaving a little rice signals you are satisfied. Many households eat with the right hand, deftly pressing rice and curry into tidy mouthfuls. Spoons appear for soups or when hosting foreigners. It is poor form to reach across the tray, to tower over monks, or to pass food directly over someone's head. Meals usually close with green tea, and, if luck smiles, tea leaf salad. The posture, the tray, and the rules fold comfort, hygiene, and respect into a single daily ritual. 3. Myanmar coffee's quiet rise as a specialty export. Myanmar's highlands, especially Shan State around Yangon, Hopong, and Pinu Luin, have turned coffee from a subsistence shrub into a credible speciality export. Smallholders tend shade-grown Arabica, beneath silver oak and jackfruit, hand-picking only red cherries, and processing them as washed, honey or sun-dried natural lots at village stations. Elevations from roughly 4,000 to 6,000 feet yield slow-ripening fruit, with clean acidity, and notes that tasters describe. 3. Myanmar coffee's quiet rise as a specialty export. Myanmar's highlands, especially Shan State around Yangon, Hopong, and Pinu Luin, have turned coffee from a subsistence shrub into a credible specialty export. Smallholders tend shade-grown Arabica beneath silver oak and jackfruit, hand-picking only red cherries and processing them as washed, honey, or sun-dried natural lots at village stations. Elevations from roughly 4,000 to 6,000 feet yield slow-ripening fruit with clean acidity and notes that tasters describe as jasmine, tamarind, palm sugar, and cocoa. Co-ops formed to negotiate better premiums, moving farmers away from volatile commodity markets toward traceable microlots for roasters in Japan, Europe, and North America. Training in selective picking, raised bed drying, and moisture control lifted quality, while Yangon's cafe scene created a domestic market that rewards freshness and craft. Logistics remain tough, mountain roads and intermittent power. But each harvest brings tighter sorting and more consistent cups. The result? A new origin carving its name onto global menus, quietly and convincingly. 4. The mighty Mingun Bell, built to ring the world. The Mingun Bell near the vast, unfinished Patodauji Stupa was cast under King Kuthodaw Pagoda in the early 19th century to crown his imperial religious vision with sound. Weighing around 90 tons, locally tallied as roughly 55,555 vis, it stands about 12 feet high and spans roughly 16 feet across. A bronze giant balanced on carved supports like a sleeping planet. Unlike famous rivals such as Moscow's Tsar bell, which cracked and never truly sang, Mingun's bell actually rings. Strike it softly with a teak beam and you get a deep, rolling note that seems to gather the Irrawaddy's breath. An earthquake in the late 1830s toppled it, but villagers and monks eventually raised it again, keeping the bell in working life rather than museum death. Legends say 5. A new flag in 2010. On October 21, 2010, Myanmar lowered its socialist XYZ banner and raised the tricolour the world knows today, 3 horizontal bands, yellow, green, red, with one large white 5-pointed star centered. Officials linked the design to the 2008 Constitution and ordered immediate replacement nationwide. Ministries reportedly destroyed old stockpiles, and many flags were ceremonially burned to avoid misuse. The colors are explained with tidy symbolism: yellow for solidarity and harmony, green for peace, agriculture, and natural wealth, red for courage and determination, while the lone star stands for the Union itself. The change broke with the blue Canton flag used since 1974, whose gear, rice ears, and a ring of white stars broadcast a distinctly socialist identity, tied to state industry and paddy abundance. The new banner, simpler and louder on the pole, was meant to signal a reset. Less doctrine on cloth, more nationhood in bold, memorable stripes. 6. From Burma to Myanmar. The country's English name was officially changed from Burma to Myanmar in late 1989 by the military junta, which argued that Myanmar reflected the formal Burmese endonym Myanmar, while Burma/Burma is the colloquial form. Linguistically, they share the same root. The shift was about register and, symbolically, about projecting a broader union beyond the Burma majority. The United Nations and many Asian and African states adopted Myanmar quickly, while several Western governments kept using Burma for years as a stance against the junta's legitimacy. Alongside the state name, anglicized place names were standardized. Rangoon became Yangon, Pagan became Bagan, and so on. Inside the country, both forms still circulate in everyday speech. Burmese speakers casually say Burma, even as official documents read Myanmar. In short, one country, two intertwined names, and a debate that blends linguistics, politics, identity. 7. Thanaka, Myanmar's golden daily skincare. Thanaka is a pale gold paste made by rubbing the bark of the thanaka tree with a little water on a flat stone called a kyaukpien, then brushed onto face and neck in leaf shapes or neat circles. Families often keep a single polished log at home. Mornings begin with a quick grind and a cool swipe before school, market, or monastery. Beyond beauty, people prize it for a gentle chill on the skin, help against acne and excess oil, a clean, earthy fragrance, and a mild shield from tropical sun thanks to natural plant compounds. Men wear it as readily as women and children, and performers paint intricate festival patterns that broadcast style and identity. Street vendors sell ready-mixed cups, yet many still prefer the tactile ritual of fresh bark ground by hand, part skincare, part mindfulness. In the humid monsoon, it soothes. In the dusty, dry months, it guards against tightness. Thanaka is cosmetic, sunscreen, and cultural signature in one. Quiet, everyday proof of care and belonging. 8. Cricket's colonial echo that faded away. Under British rule, the gentleman's game took root in Rangoon clubs, school lawns, and tea-time weekends. By the late 19th and early 20th century, you could spot white flannels at the gymkhana and in civil service compounds, with newspapers reporting tidy inter-club fixtures. After independence in 1948 and the gradual departure of colonial communities, the sport lost its social base. Successive decades of isolation, scarce equipment, and scarce turf maintenance meant pitches turned to weeds, while the country's passions shifted to football, chinlone, and the bone-rattling lethwei ring. Cricket also carried a faint whiff of elitism, making it a poor fit for mass adoption where a ball and a barefoot field will do. Broadcasting never built heroes, monsoon seasons punished squares, and coaches were rare. Today, you may still find a stray-taped tennis ball match in Yangon backstreets, or an expat pickup game in Mandalay, but these are flickers, not a 9. The world's largest book carved in marble. At Mandalay's Kuthodaw Pagoda, King Mindon set out in the late 19th century to preserve the entire Buddhist canon not on fragile palm leaf, but in stone. Arrayed around the central stupa stand 729 little white shrines, each guarding a single marble slab inscribed on both faces with Pali scripture. Many locals add a ceremonial prologue slab to speak of 730 stones. Scribes chiseled painstakingly for years, finishing in the late 1860s, while monks proofread every line aloud to keep doctrine exact. After the British annexation in the late 1880s, the complex was looted of metal finials and ornaments. Yet, lay donors restored it in the early 20th century, regilding spires and repainting the shrines. Walk the avenues at dawn, and you hear the soft clack of palm leaf fans, the rustle of robes, and birds tapping at the gilded HTI. To read the book, you circle the grounds clockwise, shrine by shrine, an act of study that is also pilgrimage, turning scripture into architecture, and endurance into merit. 10. Betel Chew and the Red Smile. Across Myanmar, the quick, peppery lift of betel is part stimulant, part social glue. Vendors fold a glossy betel leaf around shaved areca nut, a dab of slaked lime, and sometimes tobacco. Pressing a neat parcel locals call kunya. The first bite releases a warm buzz, sharpening focus and easing long hours behind market stalls, steering wheels, and riverboats. Chewers crack nuts with pocket cutters that snap like castanets, while lacquer betel boxes, once courtly accessories, still sit on low tables to welcome guests. The habit paints saliva a vivid crimson, so sidewalks bloom with rust-red flecks, and many smiles turn mahogany over time. Doctors warn of gum disease, leukoplakia, and oral cancers, and cities run campaigns urging people to spit into bins and avoid temple grounds. Some townships levy 11. Myanmar's colossal reclining Buddha. Near Morlamyin in Mon State sprawls the Winsane Toya reclining Buddha, a behemoth so vast that visitors walk inside its body through galleries depicting moral lessons, heavens and hells like a three-dimensional sermon. Often billed as the world's largest reclining Buddha, it stretches roughly 600 feet from serene brow to lotus-tipped toes, its crimson and white robes rolling like cliffs across the hillside. The interior is not empty shell, but a didactic maze. Stairways climb past dioramas of karmic cause and effect, while balconies peer through window-shaped apertures in the Buddha's flank onto paddy and palm. Outside, a second reclining figure has long been under construction, underscoring how devotion here measures itself in continental scale. Myanmar is rich in giants. The Shwedagon at Bagan and the Chowktat Gi in Yangon draw steady crowds. Yet Winsane Toya dominates by sheer length and by its unusual walk-through pedagogy. Whether or not every record keeper agrees on largest, the experience is unmistakable. You do not simply view this Buddha, you enter the doctrine and emerge blinking into daylight. 12. From poppy fields to the Golden Triangle. For much of the late 20th century, Myanmar was the second largest source of opium on earth. Its poppy fields threaded across remote highlands of Shan and Kachin, where the state's reach thinned into mountains and mist. Warlords, insurgent groups, and border brokers taxed the crop, converting sticky raw opium into morphine base, and then heroin that flowed along mule trails to Thailand, across Laos, and onward to ports and cities worldwide. Farmers, often cut off from markets and banking, planted poppy because it stores value, resists rot, and can be carried on a back, an insurance policy in a harsh ecology. Government crackdowns waxed and waned. Eradication campaigns sometimes pushed cultivation deeper into the hills or across borders. In the early 2000s, parts of 13 gold pagodas. Powered by grassroots donations, Myanmar's gleaming pagodas are not bankrolled by distant treasuries, but by everyday dana, acts of giving, layered leaf by leaf. At shrine entrances, you see stalls selling tiny squares of gold leaf. Devotees press them onto stupas as a wish, a thanks, or a memorial. A packet can cost from about $3 to $5, roughly 6,000 to 10,000 Myanmar kyat. Small enough for students and market vendors to join in, large enough to keep restorations moving. Villages organize Alu fundraisers, where shopkeepers pledge daily notes, fishermen tie the catch, and diaspora relatives wire gifts that add up to tens of thousands of US dollars, meaning tens of millions of kyat. Wealthier patrons underwrite bigger tasks. New terraces, fresh lacquer, even a replacement HTI crown, while volunteer crews scrub soot, mend tiles, and regild flaking panels before festival season. Donor names are read aloud, recorded in ledgers, and blessed by monks. The result is civic art at scale, a nation's faith, crowd-funded and literally hammered into gold. 14. A rice-rooted economy. Myanmar's economy still leans on the paddy stalk, from the silt-rich Irrawaddy Delta to terraced hills in Shan. Smallholder families plant monsoon and dry season crops that feed the nation and anchor rural income. Rice is the daily staple, the festival gift, and the hedge against hard times. Village granaries function as both pantry and bank. Labour is intensely seasonal. Transplanting draws whole communities into the fields, while harvest brings hand sickles, hired threshers, and roadside milling. Where canals and pump sets work, farmers can double crop. Where rains fail, yields fall, and debt shadows the farmyard. Pulses, sesame, groundnuts, and fisheries diversify cash flow. Yet rice still organizes land, water, and credit. Markets hinge on weather, road quality, and border demand. So a broken bridge. 15. Blackouts as a daily variable, even in big cities. In Myanmar, electricity is not a given, but a shifting promise. Even Yangon and Mandalay live with scheduled load shedding and surprise blackouts that ripple through markets, apartments, and factories alike. The grid leans heavily on hydropower that swells in monsoon months and thins in the dry season. Gas plants fill gaps, but fuel constraints, maintenance, and transmission bottlenecks often tip the balance. When voltage sags, classic brownouts, fans slow to a sigh, and fridges click helplessly. So households prize surge protectors, voltage regulators, and uninterruptible power supplies. Hospitals, malls, and hotels keep diesel generators humming. Neighborhoods flicker back to life with the bark of engines and a small cloud of exhaust. Street vendors switch to rechargeable lamps. Cafes run on inverters. And phone charging stalls bloom after a long outage like mushrooms after rain. Rooftop solar with batteries is rising because it dodges both fuel costs and bureaucracy, giving families a few lights, a router, and a chance to sleep under a working fan when the city goes dark. 16. Sacred ink. Tattoos as faith and protection. In Myanmar, tattooing is not just decoration, but a portable ritual, part prayer, part armor. Across Bama and Mon communities, men once covered thighs and torsos with protective animals, yantric grids, and Pali verses. Monks or lay ritualists inked them while chanting Parita blessings, so the designs would hold as living charms. Motifs are chosen for aims, tigers for courage, roosters for vigilance, scorpions for warding harm, while placement may follow astrology and yadaya, the Burmese habit of countering ill fate with precise acts. Pigments mix soot, plant resins, and oils. Needles or thorn bundles drive the ink under skin, as donors recite vows about truthfulness and restraint, believed to activate the power. In Chin Hills, elder women still carry fading facial lattices, once markers. 17. Naypyidaw's vast, almost empty boulevards. Myanmar's purpose-built capital, Naypyidaw, is famous for avenues so broad they look like airstrips. Near the parliamentary zone, the ceremonial artery fans out to as many as 24 lanes, divided into landscaped medians and flanked by regimented rows of lights. Laid out in the mid-2000s when the government moved the capital from Yangon to the dry zone interior, the road grid was designed for parades, motorcades, and security. Fast separation of traffic, clear sightlines, and room for sudden convoys. Zoning scattered ministries into vast compounds, with hotels, golf courses, and housing districts set far apart. The result is impeccable asphalt and surprisingly light everyday traffic, so rush hour often feels like a rehearsal with no crowd. Drivers praise the visibility and clean surfaces, but pedestrians face heat, distance, and long treks between bus stops. During major ceremonies, the boulevards finally meet their brief, swallowing columns of vehicles without strain. On ordinary days, they read like an urban thesis. Capacity first, population later. 18. Gold leaf elegance at traditional weddings. A Burmese wedding is choreographed around auspiciousness and shine. Families first consult astrology to fix a lucky day and hour. Then the couple appears on a low dais in regal textiles. The bride in wave-patterned achaik silk with gold thread embroidery and often gold leaf accents on crown, sash, or bodice. The groom in a tailored jacket over a silk longyi, with a crested headdress echoing pagoda finials. Elders open the rite with almsgiving to monks. Then a blessing sequence unfolds. White cotton threads are tied at the wrists, and water is slowly poured from a silver bowl to share merit with seen and unseen beings. A lacquer tray piled with jasmine, betel sets, and gilded coconuts travels between families as vows and gifts are exchanged, frequently including gold bangles that symbolize durable wealth. After formal bows to 19. Myanmar beer, the everyday national pint. Myanmar beer is the country's default toast, an easy-drinking pale lager poured at neon-bright beer stations, roadside barbecue stalls, and family banquets from delta towns to highland markets. The profile runs crisp and lightly malty, often brewed with rice for a clean finish that calms chili heat and garlic smoke from skewers and curries. Locals do not blush about ice in the glass. In tropical evenings, a few cubes keep the head lively and the company longer. Stainless towers appear on tables for groups, a ritual that turns refills into a centerpiece and conversation into sport. The green and gold branding signals union pride, and you will see it on bunting at festivals, football screenings, and neighborhood openings. While craft experiments are budding, Myanmar beer remains the shared baseline. Reliable, familiar, and proudly domestic. Order a plate of grilled pork, a bowl of tea leaf salad, and a frosty mug, and you have the country in miniature. Bright, sociable, and built for lingering stories under humming fans. 20. Astrology as a compass for big choices. In Myanmar, astrology is less pastime than navigation. Babies are often named from letter groups tied to the weekday of birth, and families consult a respected sire to choose syllables that promise balance and stamina. Couples fix wedding hours by fortunate constellations. Merchants open shops on lucky days. Leaders have historically timed ceremonies to align with auspicious skies. At major pagodas ringed by 8 planetary corners, devotees pour water over their birthday post, murmur prayers, and strike a bell to cool karmic heat. When forecasts turn rough, people practice yadaya, countermeasures like donations, prescribed colors, or specific good deeds to deflect ill fortune. Travel, surgeries, even house moving may shift by a chart's advice. Skeptics exist, yet many who doubt still hedge, because checking a horoscope costs little and calms the mind. Astrology here is not fatalism, but